FORA.tv. The world is thinking.
There was a third god that failed, and that, of course, is the one that you all know and we all fear as political correctness. Now, what was political correctness? That was the notion that no culture could be any better than any worse than Western civilization. That the culture that grew up in Greece and Rome was enriched by Jerusalem, was modified during the medieval period, enriched again during the Renaissance and the Reformation and the Counter-Reformation and the Enlightenment, and came to our shores with the Founding Fathers. This unique, complex menu of ideas and values and protocols: private property, free markets, the freedom of the individual, the right to dissent, freedom of expression, rationalism and secularism, the notion of a balance of power, constitutional control over the military, all of these things that give us a standard of life that's unrivaled anywhere else, and that why other cultures are demanding that they emulate this. China is trying to emulate our economic system. And remember that more immigrants come to this country for that very reason than all other sources of immigrant destination in the world each year. But this new political correctness taught us the opposite, that the sins of mankind, that every culture and every person is capable of, sexism, homophobia, racism, slavery in the past, were unique to the West. And this has been so pernicious that our candidate Barack Obama recently said, what we need in our universities are more oppression studies. Well, you can see the wages of that with Reverend Wright. He gave a lecture the other day at the NAACP, and then he gave it at the press club, and he was praising Islam and talking about slavery. But slavery is a human fault. There were more black slaves shipped to the Middle East than there was to the New World. Islam was par excellence the catalyst for slavery in Africa. Islam was just as guilty, if not more guilty, than the West. And the West, not Islam, outlawed slavery. But if you are a product of an educational system that sees your culture and your culture alone applied to a particular standard, then no wonder you're going to be half educated. And then there's the other issue that was really pernicious with the advent of political correctness, and that was, it was hypocritical. None of us in the West, you can take the most anti-Western public figure, a Reverend Wright, anybody, a professor of post-colonial studies at Harvard, when they go to the West Bank and Israel and they have, believe me, if they have a ruptured appendix, they do not go to Ramallah to have it taken out. They go to Israel. If they go to Saudi Arabia and they're an atheist, as many are in the United States, they don't dare say God is dead. If they go to Iran, they don't say to their girlfriend, let's get on that string bikini and hit the beach. If they're in Africa, they said, you know what, there's a British Air flight and an Air Nigeria flight. Let's take the Nigeria flight. Nobody does that. In their everyday lives, the most hardcore anti-American leftist makes choices that are Western to the core. Remember, it's not a matter of race, it's a matter to what degree a society has embraced these values. Let me just read you what I also found, courses both at CSU and UC that deal with, I guess, what I would call political correctness. Technologies and Latinidad. Gender, I don't know what that class is, by the way. Gender, sexuality, and transnational migration. Politics of sexual and sexual identity in the Third World. Topics in queer studies. Transgressive sexualities. Theory and practice of feminist organization. Whiteness and anti-racism and racism. Early and modern women and the body, the camera and the body, constructing memory in post-war architecture, race, class, and gender in California history, who controls broadcasting, race, class, and gender issues. All of these had one theme, that a particular group, and we know who that was, a white male Christian heterosexual, had done all the damage and created all of these pathologies, the fumes of which people seem to choose that they want to enjoy. So Reverend Wright can talk all he wants about this pernicious system, but when it's a question of living and buying a home, he of course wants a 10,000 square foot home built on principles of rationalism and secularism, and built in a neighborhood that's safe and based on a constitutional framework. So what we see is with political correctness is nothing other than the old court jester system, where the king, remember, hired somebody to come in and dress in a funny costume, stick his tongue out at the king, throw things at him, and then he was whisked away, and it was entertainment. That's what political correctness has done in our university. It's a method of distraction where we hire very wealthy people to come in. I say wealthy, full professors, endowed professors, named professors. They trash the very culture that they enjoy and that they will continue to enjoy, and then nobody takes them very serious.